Okay, here it is, folks, another phony fake show. 3-year-old boy mistakes gun for iPod in handbag and shoots parents. Gee, where have we heard that one before? The most recent one in the Walmart, I believe it was. But yeah, Jeff covered that one before. Here we go. 3-year-old boy found a handgun in his mother's purse and fired one shot that wounded both his parents, police said. According to Albuquerque Police Department, the toddler apparently reached for an iPod, but found a loaded weapon, a 9mm handgun. Police believe the shooting in the America's Best Value Inn in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to be accidental. Naturally. The bullet first struck his father, Justin Reynolds, in the buttock, and then hit the right shoulder of his mother, Monique Velasquez, who was 8 months pregnant. Oh, how convenient, police said. Both injuries are non-life-threatening, authorities said. His 2-year-old sister was present but unhurt. Reynolds told KOB-TV that he and his girlfriend Velasquez were getting ready to order pizza when the toddler fired the shot. Oh, okay. Well, wasn't that nice? It was like if I was to get up, shake your hand, and sat back down. Well, I can't think of anyone who'd want to sit back down after getting shot in the ass, but anyways, that's how fast it happened, Reynolds said. All of a sudden, we heard a gun go off, and the next minute I realized my girlfriend was bleeding. Then I sat down, that must have been painful, and realized I was shot too. I think you would notice. Reynolds said he called the emergency dispatcher, grabbed some towels, and tried to stop her bleeding. I was more worried about my girlfriend than myself and anything else that was going on in my son because I didn't know if he had shot himself or not, said Reynolds. He was shocked and crying. It was traumatizing. Oh, the drama. Okay, so police said in the statement that the father was treated and released, while the mother was hospitalized in stable condition. This case will be forwarded to the DA's office, and pending charges of felony and criminal negligence will be reviewed on both parents. Albuquerque Police Department spokesman Simon Drobick said the Albuquerque Journal reported that the family was living in a room at America's Best Value Inn where this shooting occurred. Police said child care officials are taking care of the children. Jonathan Hudson, a spokesman for the Washington-based Brady campaign and Center to Prevent Gun Violence, as Jeff would say, of course, said the shooting should serve as a reminder to all parents to keep guns locked away securely. Okay, so let's explore why this thing's a whole phony bullshit hoax. Okay, first of all, let me go over my points before we go to this video. Why I believe it's a hoax. Okay, now point 1. Even the largest 9mm pistols with a full magazine will weigh about 32 ounces or 2 pounds. Okay? Whether they're compact or with the longer barrel and larger slide will make the difference in the actual gun's weight, of course. This, like I say, this is the lightest pistols on the market. It's about 2 pounds. Okay. Point 2, pistols have wide grips, which means for a 3-year-old, it'd be practically physically impossible for them to wrap their hands around it and to hold it, let alone lift it, aim it, and fire it. And this is because their hands are simply too small. In addition to the wide grips on the pistols, you would need both a larger hand and longer fingers than that of a child of that age would be able to reach the trigger and fire the gun. It's not going to happen. Okay, point 3. Let's actually look at firing the gun itself. Most pistols in general, depending on whether they are single action or double action pistols, have varying degrees of trigger pulls. Okay. The trigger pull is the amount of physical force measured in pounds that is required to actually cause the gun to fire, to actually squeeze the trigger through its full cycle to actually activate the gun and discharge the weapon. Okay. Point 4, most triggers are set from the factory to a minimum of 4 to 6 pounds in single action mode. This is considered the industry standard safe amount of trigger pull. And this is due, of course, to the gun manufacturers wanting to prevent accidental discharges and, of course, pending lawsuits that would result from same. So this is, of course, why they set the triggers a little heavier to prevent this type of trigger pull, the accidental discharges from happening. So where did I leave off here? Okay, yeah, 4 to 6 pounds in single action mode. Okay, this is considered the industry safe amount of trigger pull. Some are set from the factory slightly higher, requiring more force and trigger pull to cause the gun to fire. In double action mode, the trigger pull is set up even higher, around 7 to 10 pounds. Okay, in either of these modes, whether single action or double action, it would be impossible for a 3-year-old to fire the gun. Okay, and that's just fact. Okay. Number 6, let's look at the phony ballistics allegations. The story states the father was shot in the buttocks, and the bullet allegedly traveled through the father's buttocks, hit the mother in the shoulder. And of course, they claim he actually sat down after that, which I find fucking hilarious. Okay. So they're expecting us to believe that a 3-year-old was not only capable of firing the gun, but the gun was loaded with a live round in the chamber with the gun safety off. Okay. And this child must have had gargantuan hands and long fingers and was incredibly strong enough to pull the trigger. Like I say, I'd love to meet this Hulk of a child. Okay, because he must be some type of superhero. Okay, but back to our ballistics. So here we are, the 3-year-old child, he says, who let's say on average is about 3.5 feet tall, somehow shoots the father in the butt. And the bullet supposedly travels through the father into the mother's shoulder. Okay, I've been involved with firearms for over 35 years. I've conducted tests, various calibers, various types of mediums, wood, steel, you name it. In this particular test on YouTube, we're looking at a 9mm test on ballistic gelatin. Okay, ballistic gelatin is used by ballistic labs all over the world, police labs, because it most closely resembles human flesh and bullet resistance in human flesh. Okay, so here we are, the ballistic gelatin. The bullet that's used in this YouTube test is a 115 grain Hornady zombie bullet, and it penetrates about 13 inches of ballistic gelatin. The average man, dependent on the height and weight, has a waist of between 30 to 40 inches. So a shot in the butt, we assume there's about 4 to 6 inches of fatty and muscle tissue on the buttocks alone. Okay, depending on whether the child was standing or sitting at the time the alleged shot was fired, assuming, we can overcome the impossible, and the child actually had hands big enough and fingers long enough and the force strong enough to actually pull the trigger and discharge the weapon, whether the child was standing or sitting would make a huge difference in the bullet's angle of the bullet's trajectory, which could amount to a difference of between 6 inches to 1.5 feet of actual bullet trajectory. Okay, which is why I find the whole story to be totally bogus and totally, BS, okay, and totally bullshit, because the defensive bullets in 9mm are usually hollow points. Hollow points are designed to expand. They're not really designed to penetrate. So the penetration would probably be a lot less than that shown in the ballistic gelatin. Hollow points tend to cause larger wound channel cavities. They travel at a high rate of speed, but they also slow down, and they're designed to expand, which means the 9mm is like a .355 diameter, and they'll usually expand to, slightly larger than that. And while they're expanding, they're slowing down in the medium, target medium that they're fired into, whether it's ballistic gelatin or human flesh or whatever. They're designed not to exit the body. They're designed to expand, like I say. And this is why they're so popular with police forces and, aircraft, air marshals on airplanes, is because you don't want a bullet to penetrate the body in those cases. You want the bullet to expand and stay within the body. And this is what they're designed to do. Okay? So, mind you, it's not stated in the article whether the bullet used was a hollow point or not, but generally this is what most civilians carry for self-defense. It's the most popular self-defense bullet out there on the market, is the hollow point. Okay? So, like I say, even if the kid was able to lift the gun, wrap his tiny hands around the grip, be able to actually use enough force, or have fingers long enough to reach the trigger, have enough force to pull the trigger, chances are the hollow point would not exit the body as claimed in the article, let alone penetrate the mother's shoulder as well. Okay? So this is why I say I find the whole article complete bogus, complete BS from so many aspects. As I pointed out, that I think it's just a total anti-gun hoax, and the media is pushing these type of stories to push the anti-gun agenda, and this all relates back to the UN Small Arms Treaty. They're trying to push this all over the world right now, and this is why we're finding so many school shootings, so many accidental shootings in the media, because it's all a phony fake show, folks trying to push the whole gun control agenda and bring in the New World Order, and they can't do that until they disarm the global population. And this is why they're creating these staged fake terrorist events, the staged school shootings, the staged accidental shootings with all these kids. This is all part of the Every Town for Gun Safety agenda, the Moms Demand Action agenda, the whole Bloomberg thing. You know how it works. Those of you who have been following this stuff for a long time, myself personally, I've been following this shit for decades, and I've seen the incremental infringements on the attacks on the Second Amendment and the attacks on gun owners' rights around the world, really, even in Australia. Years ago where they banned guns completely, and now they've changed the laws there, and the laws are more kind of like Canada's. They're restricted, but there's no longer a complete gun ban. But, they're trying to change that all over again. And as I say, they're trying to push the UN Small Arms Treaty all over the world. And this is the way they're doing it. They're using these staged hoaxes, the phony fake shows, to try to create these excuses to restrict and eventually ban all your guns. And they're using the children, the emotional manipulation through the media, because the media are their puppets, and they're completely controlled, owned and controlled by anti-gun billionaires like George Soros, and Mike Bloomberg, and a whole bunch of others. So keep that in mind. Don't believe jack shit you read in the papers or on the news about this stuff, because we know the agenda behind the agenda.